Oh wait, I'm so small. Wait.
You're so small and petite, and you're so small and cute and petite, aren't you? You think you're so
Mm,
small and petite?
just like my little stinky penis. Do you want to see it?
This is our intro, okay?
did you start recording?
Yeah!
Hello and welcome to another video. This is Booya, and this is my beautiful. I'm Boo. I'm not Booya as a singular person. Yeah exists. So,
I am here.
and this is another creepypasta reading.
Yes. Okay, I have never, I have heard of it. Never is a strong word, but I haven't really dabbled into creepypasta ever. So,
Except for the times when I simped over the characters to you.
I kind of
That's
black
all.
out.
What do you mean?
No, I don't know the lore at all. I know
Well,
that you like Ticci Toby because he's Ticci and Tobbying, but other than that, I kind of forgot what he does.
well, you're
Sorry.
about to find out because today we're reading Jeff the Killer, starting with you.
Okay, I'm reading Jeff the Killer. Except from a local newspaper, ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he has survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story.
I had a bad dream and I woke up in the middle of the night. Says
Says the boy.
Exactly. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light, illuminating between my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes, they were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth! A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but he said it in a way only a madman could speak. He said,
Go to
"Go to
sleep.
sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, tried to knock him off of. That's when I threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard it smash like grass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing, I will never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head.
Police are still on the look for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in the story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at the work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Leo couldn't complain though. A new, better house, what was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by.
Hello,
She said.
I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just want to introduce myself and to introduce my son.
She turns and calls her son over.
Billy? These are our new neighbors.
Billy! No, that's perfect.
I know. Go on.
Oh, Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard.
Well,
Said Jeff's mom.
I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons, Jeff and Leo.
They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went out to his mom.
Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you hadn't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid. Jeff,
Said his mother.
we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now, we're gonna go to that party, and that's final.
Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. Too much
Yeah,
feeling.
the feeling. He's feeling something.
Oh god. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once got that feeling.
The feeling was puberty.
Oh my god, this time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but once he dismissed it. As he and Leo finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there watching for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, he got a feeling. Some kid on some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise.
Hey, what the hell?
The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans.
Well, well, well. It looks like we got some new meat.
He's a 25-year-old man in a middle school. Why does he speak like that?
He's 12 years old. Also, you
He's
should
lying.
keep in mind. You should keep in mind that the person who wrote the story was most likely also either 12 or 14 or something like that.
That just makes
So-
us even better. Suddenly, two other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge.
Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith.
Jeff and Lee looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect Sidekick to have.
And he's Troy.
They looked over to the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. That's so rude.
That's what they say about me.
What? No. Who?
And I
Oh, said the first kid.
am Randy. For all the kids in the neighborhood, there's a small price for the bus fare if you catch my drift. Wink, wink.
Liu stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes when one of his friends pulled a knife on him.
I had hoped that you would be more cooperative, but it seems like we must do this the hard way.
We have the cartel over here. What is
These are the bullies in that fun fucking It movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, kind of more comedic in a way. The kid walked up to Liu and he took his wallet from his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Liu gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid.
Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else.
Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his knife.
Oh, and what will you do?
Just as he finished his sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over. Leo couldn't do anything but look in amazement at Jeff.
Jeff, okay.
I don't even know what that means.
No, he couldn't finish the sentence. He was too amazed.
Ah.
Yeah.
Was all he said. They saw the bus coming and they knew they would be blamed for the whole thing. I mean... So they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Liu made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit down and listen. Liu just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entirety of school. Even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop and how he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice,
It was a wonderful day.
Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him in an angry look.
Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids. That it wasn't a regular fighting and that they were stabbed. Stabbed, son.
Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true.
Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Leo. Son,
Said one of the cops.
we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now, what does that tell us?
Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Liu had been attacked, but then there would be no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say they weren't fleeing, because truth to be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Liu.
I have a theory that the kids work with the police and they like exert. I don't remember what that word was, but they take money from the kids and they split it together.
Is that canon?
That is my theory. That is my theory.
Thank you.
Because like the community would have known that these kids do this on a regular basis, and they would have been like, he's in the right. He only defended himself. But if the police is also in on it, they're all in on like taking these kids bus fares, then that makes sense as to why they would.
In all honesty, I was imagining like the setting to be in somewhere in the back rooms with just suburban houses all over.
See, it looks peaceful on the outside, but it's all rotten inside. It's corrupted.
Because Jeff got that feeling in him.
They all have the feeling.
They all have the feeling, especially Jeffrey. Jeff. My little Jeffington. Stop moaning.
Son, call down your brother.
Jeff couldn't do it since Jeff couldn't do it since it was he who beat up all the kids.
Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Leo tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me.
The cop looked at his partner and they both nod.
Well, kid, looks like a urine juvie. Wait!
Well, kid, it looks like you're cooked.
Wait!
Says Leo. They look at Sorry, that's so stupid. they all looked up to see him holding a knife. The 11-year-old. The officer pulled out their guns and locked them on you. The 11-year-old.
Canon accurate.
What do you mean?
Policeman in America. From what
Oh,
I know.
that's true.
It was me. I beat up those little punks. How did Marks to prove it?
He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises as if he was in a struggle.
Son, just put the knife down,
Said the officer. Leo held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops.
No, Leo, it was me. I did it.
Jeff had tears running down his face.
Poor bro. Trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away.
Police led Leo out to the patrol car.
Leo, tell them it was me. Tell them. I was the one who beat up those kids.
Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders.
Jeff, please. You don't have to lie. We know it's Leo. You can stop.
Jeff watched helplessly as the car sped off with Leo inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway. Seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong,
Son, what is it?
Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into his house. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Leo when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by with no word from Leo at the JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday when Jeff is woken up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face.
I would like to say that it's quite impressive that his mom just like picked herself back up after his son was taken to her 12-year-old son was taken into custody for stabbing 2 kids.
Also, why didn't she go to the police station?
Listen, I know that this is all because a 12-year-old wrote this, but I like to imagine that she didn't like hire any lawyers
Oh my
or
God.
demand any like camera footage or like any proof, or went even like demanded like a fucking court hearing. But
She was
she's
like,
just
take
like
my
that.
son.
I don't
One
think
less-
she likes them very much.
One less mouth to feed.
Jeff, it's the day.
She said as she opened up the curtains and let light flood into his room.
What's today?
Asked Jeff as he stirs awake.
Why? It's Billy's party.
He was now fully awake.
Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after...
There was a long pause.
Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the best thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed.
Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get herself ready. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up. His mother in a dress and father in a suit. Why? He thought, why would they wear such a fancy clothes to a kid's party?
I'm telling you, the whole town is fucking weird. Like, it's all corrupted. The police are taking bus fares from the bullies that they collected from other kids, and something weird, something networky, something weird connecting, something is going on between the parents
Police
too.
might be poor as hell then to take money from kids.
No, you see, it's a rich neighborhood, so the bus fares are $5 million.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Son, is that all you're gonna wear?
Said Jeff's mom.
Better than wearing too much.
He said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile.
Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression.
Said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room.
I don't have any fancy clothes.
He yelled downstairs.
Just pick out something.
Called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it though. He looked around and found only strip pattern shirts, none of which would go with dress pants. Finally he found a white hoodie and put it on. Oh my god.
This fit is atrocious. You're wearing that?
They both said. His mother looked at her watch.
Oh no, no time to change. Let's just go.
She does as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door and it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids.
The kids are out on the yard, Oh, fuck. Okay.
Joff.
The kids... Shut up.
Sorry.
The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them?
Said Barbara. Jeff walked outside the yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and a hat.
Hey, wanna play?
he said.
No kid. I'm way too old for this stuff.
The kid looked at them with a weird puppy dog face.
Please?
Said the kid.
Fine.
Said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to shoot at the kids. At first he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been a super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took him his mind off Leo. So he played with the other kids for a while, until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred.
Hello, Jeff, is it?
He said.
We have some unfinished business.
Jeff saw his bruised nose.
I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you got my brother sent to JDSA.
Randy got an angry look in his eyes.
Oh no. I don't go for even, I go for winning. You may have kicked your asses that one day, but not today.
As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him in the ears and headbutted him. Jeff rushed Randy off him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming and parents were running about the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. Guns?
Yes.
It is America.
I'm telling you, this neighborhood, it's weird. There's some weird shit going on. Also, this goes back to my theory. The police are working with these bullies. That's why they have guns.
What if one of the kids were, like, their father was part of the police? Maybe that's why.
See? Either way, they're in on it.
Nepotism.
They're in on it.
Just like white
No one
babies.
interrupts. No one interrupts, or guts will fly.
Oh. They said. Randy pulled out a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started to kick him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabs his foot and twisted, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back of the door. Troy grabbed him.
Need some help?
He picks Jeff by the back of his collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood.
Come on, Jeff, fight me.
He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes a glass over Jeff's head.
Fight!
He throws Jeff back into the living room. He's just a rag doll.
Also, I would like to remind that these kids, like 2 of them, got stabbed just 2 days ago, like 3 days ago.
It's okay, they're built like...
They're built different.
Yeah, they're built like balls apparently.
Come on, Jeff, look at me.
Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood.
I was the one who got your brother sent to JDSA. And now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year. You should be ashamed.
Jeff starts to get up.
Oh, finally, you stand and fight.
Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while.
Finally, he's up,
says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and piles him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him. Punch after punch, blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. What?
See, he's so strong that he just had to punch him in the heart for it to stop.
He
broke his rib cage.
Dude. Everyone's looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at... I forgot they had guns. Point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him. each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off of the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack onto Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and all that is left is Keith. He is more agile than Troy though, because he's skinny, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He drops the knife and grabs Jeff by the neck. He pushed him onto the wall. A thing of bleach fell on top of him from the top shelf. It burned both of them and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight to the Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile.
What's so funny?
Asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on.
What's funny,
he said,
is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol.
Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flames made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol inside the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out of the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming as they saw Jeff. Now a man on fire dropped to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had the cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt the cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in.
I don't think you can get out of bed just yet,
she said as she put him back on the bed to reinsert the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother.
Honey, are you okay?
Bimbo. No thoughts in her head.
No one except for Jeff, who has a feeling, understands anything. Maybe Leo, because he's his bro.
He had 2 seconds of screen time.
Listen, oh, you don't know this, but Leo also has his own creepypasta.
He does?
I don't know if they're made by the same creator. I think it's like a little different from this. Like, it's like when this version Jeff is the older brother, but in Leo's creepypasta, Leo is the older brother.
We will never know. The Strogander's brother.
If we hit 5 million likes on this video, you guys. Yeah.
Shooting for the sky. She asked. Jeff couldn't answer though. His face was covered and he was unable to speak.
Oh honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they just decided to let Leo go.
This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway. He remembered the tube coming out of his arm.
He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again.
Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. Why is she leaving? The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it, what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover of his face was almost removed.
Let's hope for the best.
What? No! What doctor says that? Let's hope for the best. What? Here we go.
I did my best. I was kind of high though, but you know.
Waiting for the said the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Leo and Jeff's dad stare awestruck at his face.
What? What happened to my face?
Jeff said. He rushed out of the bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked into the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face, it's horrible. His lips were burned to a deep shade of red. Sorry. His face was turned into a pure white color and his hair singed from brown to black. How did that happen? He slowly put his hand to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror.
Jeff,
Said Leo.
it's not that bad. Not that bad?
Said Jeff.
It's perfect!
His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching.
Jeff, are you okay?
Stop acting like that.
Okay? I've never felt more happy! Look at me! This face goes perfectly with me!
He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking it at the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was... What? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity snapped. Now he was
had a
left...
feeling.
Why did the JoJo narrator came in? Now he was left as a crazy killing machine, that is. His parents didn't know.
Doctor,
Said Jeff's mom.
is my son alright, in the head? Oh yeah, this behavior...
This doctor high as hell, bro. I don't think the doctor knows anything. Who is bro?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
He has like a huge blunt in his head. Like his eyes are red.
Red. Red.
He has like a fucking Hawaii shirt.
Oh yeah. This behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here and we'll give him a psychological test. Oh, thank you, doctor.
Jeff's mother went over to Jeff.
Just...
Like, if you looked into her brain, it's empty. She does not... Miss, do you know who you are? Okay. We will come back here in 2 weeks. Jeffrey, are you okay? Jeffington. Little Jeffrey.
Shut up.
My little Jeffrey, she skips over to him. My little Jeffrey, my little star. The doctor's like, oh, okay.
Enough, my stomach hurts.
The dad is like, my lobotomized wife.
Jess, sweetie, it's time to go.
Okay, wait, sorry. Where were we? Jeff looks away from the mirror. His face is still formed into a crazy smile.
Okay, mommy.
His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes.
This is what came in.
Said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see a black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood, how, and stitched together. Jeff's mother let him...
Well, no, you can't bleach, wait, they were burnt. Literally how?
That's what I'm thinking. Now they were clean of blood and stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. Then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. What? What does that mean? what
It's their final day of life.
what does that mean?
It's their final day of life. God.
Oh. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from the bathroom. She had a feeling that it was a sound. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked over into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks.
Jeff, what are you doing?
Asked his lobotomized mother. Jeff looked over to his mother.
I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever.
Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed and black.
Jeff, your eyes!
His eyes were seemingly never closing.
I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could see myself forever. My new face.
Jeff's mother slowly started to walk away, seeing that her son was going insane.
What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful? Yes, son.
She said.
Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he can see your face.
She ran to the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep.
Honey, get the gun.
She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway, holding a knife.
Mommy, you lied.
That's the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with the knife, gutting both of them. His brother Leo woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and started to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of small slumber, he got to the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He woke up to the strangest feeling before Jeff's hands covered his mouth with a strange feeling. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Leo. Leo trudged here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip.
Shh,
said Jeff.
just go to sleep. And that was Jeff the Killer Creepypasta. How did you feel about it?
What was that? How was this? Okay.
You just read peak.
I see. Maybe I'm not. Dude. My favorite character is the lobotomized mother. Why did Jeff kill his brother? I thought he liked his brother.
He has a feeling, so he just has to kill everyone now.
Aw. But they were brothers. They were brothers. They could have gone to be murder brothers. Why not?
Cause he needs to be intimidating, and his brother's making him lose all the aura. So.
Aw. Okay. The story, it is obviously written by a child. I think that's what makes it kind of better in a way. But it's so funny and cool at the same time to see a story that is so unique and see all these kids getting inspired and making something out of it. I thought Jeff the Killer was way different.
What did you think it was?
I don't know. I didn't even think it had a story. I thought it was just that one image of Jeffrey.
That's the thing is, the thing interesting about that image is that no one knows its origins. There are a bunch of videos trying to find where it's originated from, and no one knows. The closest people got to finding out where it originated from is from a Japanese thing. I think a show or something. But that was the last time I checked, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, the image came way before Jeff, and I think probably the person that wrote this was kind of inspired off of it.
So this is what sparked every single creepypasta ever? ?
No. But it did inspire a lot of people to write their own creepypasta OCs to have out there, and most of them had a relation to Jeffrey or If it wasn't related to Jeffrey, it was related to Slenderman,
I see. So
from what I remember.
did Slenderman come before Jeffrey, or did Jeffrey come?
Slenderman Slenderman came before Jeffrey, from what I know.
Okay. So what about the Slender house, like the Slender apartment? What? Wait, Slender. What? Slender.
Slender Mansion.
Oh yeah, that makes so much more sense than Slender apartment.
He's a landlord.
I mean, isn't he technically?
Yeah, yeah, he is.
Okay.
From what I remember, Slender Mansion came from the proxies. The proxies being like, you remember Marble Hornets? I forced you to watch that
Yes.
with me.
Yes.
Marble Hornets, like people were drawing fan art of Masky and Hoodie and Slenderman, and they became the proxies, which were like servants of Slenderman. And then like people started to make OCs that would go along with like become a part of the proxies, and these proxies would fill up a mansion, from what I know. Hi, I'm Boo, and I'm reading Ticci Toby.
Okay, not like that.
Bye.
Okay, like the next
Bye.
story.
By Castaway. The long road home seemed to go on and on. The road continued to stretch in front of the vehicle endlessly. The light that shone through the branches of the tall green trees danced across the window in random patterns, and every once in a while obnoxiously shining in your eyes. The surroundings were full of deep green trees, forming a forest around the road. The only sound was the sound of the car's engine as it traveled down the path. It was peaceful and left a serene feeling, although this ride seemed like a nice one. It lacked every form of nice from its two passengers.
Sorry to cut him, but the moment you said feeling, I got triggered.
It's quite a feeling. It's
Yeah.
quite a feeling. The middle-aged woman behind the steering wheel had neat short brown hair that fit her complexion quite well. She wore a green V-neck t-shirt and a pair of blue jeans. Diamond stud earrings decorated each of her ears, which partially showed from behind her haircut. She had deep green eyes, which her shirt brought out, and the lightning seemed to make them more noticeable. There wasn't anything significant about her appearance. She looked like any other average mother you would see on TV shows and the like. However, the one thing that made her different than the average mothers was the dark bags she had under her eyes. Her facial expression was gloomy and sad, although she genuinely looked like someone who smiled a lot. She would sniffle every once in a while, and occasionally glanced in the rearview mirror to look at her son in the back seat, who was hunched over partially, with his arms held tight around his chest, and his head pressed against the cold window. The boy lacked any normal appearance, and anyone could plainly see there was something wrong with him. His messy brown hair went every which way, and the luminescent light brought out his pale, almost grey skin. His eyes were dark, unlike his mother's, and he wore a white t-shirt and a scrub pants that had been provided for him by this hospital. The clothes he had worn before were so shredded and blood-stained that they weren't wearable anymore. The right side of his face bared a few cuts along with a split eyebrow. His right arm was bandaged all the way to the shoulder, which had been shredded when his right side hit the shattered glass. His injuries appeared to be painful, when in reality he couldn't feel anything. This was just one of the glories of being him. One of the challenges he had to face while growing up was growing up with a rare disease that caused him to be completely numb towards pain. Never before he had himself get hurt. He could have lost an arm and felt nothing. The other major disorder he had faced, which was the one that deemed him many insulting nicknames in the short time he attended grade school before he switched to homeschooling, was his Tourette's syndrome, which caused him to tick and twitch in ways he couldn't control. He would crack his neck uncontrollably and twitch every once in a while. The kids would tease him and call him Ticci Toby, and they mocked him with an exaggerated twitching and laughing. It got so bad he had to turn to homeschooling. It was too hard for him to be in a common learning environment with seemingly every kid poking, or more like stabbing, fun at him. Toby stared blankly out of the window, his face empty of any emotion, and every few minutes his shoulder, arm, or foot would twitch. Every bump that car tires hit would make his stomach turn. Toby Rogers was the boy's name, and the last time Toby remembered riding a car was when it crashed.
Oh.
That's all he thought about, unconsciously replaying everything he remembered before he blacked out, over and over again. This had been the fuck. Toby had been the lucky one. His sister had not been so lucky. When the thought of his sister came, he couldn't help the tears that welled up in his eyes. The horrible memories replayed in his mind. Her screaming that had cut off when the front of the car was smashed in. It all went black for a moment before Toby opened his eyes to see his sister's body. Her forehead pierced with glass shards, her hips and legs crushed under the force of the steering wheel, and her torso pushed in from the too late inflated airbag. That was the last thing he had seen of his dear older sister. The road home continued on for what seemed like forever. It took so long to get home because his mom wanted to avoid the sight of the crash. When the surroundings gave way to a familiar neighborhood, they were both more than ready to get out of the car and step back into their own home. It was an older neighborhood with quaint little houses all next to each other. The car drove in front of a blue house with white window panes. They both quickly noticed the old vehicle that was parked in front of the house and the familiar figure that stood in the driveway. Toby felt automatic anger and frustration take over him at the sight of his father who wasn't there. His mother pulled up the car in the driveway beside him before turning off the engine and preparing to step out and face her husband.
Why is he here?
Toby said quietly as he looked back at his mother who reached to open the car door.
He's your father, Toby. He's here because he wants to see you.
His mother responded in a monotone voice, trying to sound less shaky.
Yet couldn't drive up to the hospital to see Lyra before she died.
Toby narrowed his eyes out the window.
He was drunk that night, honey. He couldn't drive. Yet when he see not.
Toby pushed the door open before his mother stumbled out onto the driveway where he met his father's gaze before looking down at his feet with a stern expression. His mother stepped out behind him and met her husband's eyes before walking around the car. His father opened up his arms, expecting a hug from his wife, but she walked past him and put her arm around Toby's shoulder and started leading him inside.
Connie.
Her husband began in a raspy voice.
What? No welcome home hug? Huh?
She ignored her husband's obnoxious words and walked past him with her son under her arm.
Hey, he's 16. He can walk by himself.
His father began to follow them in.
He's 17.
Connie glared back at him before opening the door to the house and stepping inside.
Toby, why don't you get into your room to rest, okay? I will come get you when the dinner's ready. No, I'm 16. I can walk by myself.
Toby said sarcastically and glared back at his father before stumbling up to the small staircase and turning into his room, where he slammed the door violently. His little room didn't have much in it, just a small bed, a dresser, a window, and his walls had a few picture frames of his family, back when they were a family, before his father became an alcoholic and acted violently towards the rest of the family. Toby remembered when he was arguing with his mom and he grabbed her by the hair and shoved her into the floor, and when Lyra tried to break it up, he pushed her and she hit her back on the corner of the kitchen counter. Toby couldn't forgive him for what he did to his mother and sister. Never.
Jesus.
Toby didn't care much. Sorry, I'm remembering Jeffrey's family and I'm comparing the two.
Way to break the atmosphere of the abused family. I'm just imagining their neighbors now. Oh my god. Imagine like the wife is like, it could have been worse. I could have been lobotomized. That's why Jeff's family is so happy.
At least my husband might be an alcoholic, but he's not on whatever the crack that family is smoking. Toby didn't care how much his father beat him down. He couldn't feel it anyway. What he did care about was how he intentionally hurt the only two people he cared about. And when he was waiting in the hospital where his sister took her last breaths, the only one who didn't rush there was his dad. Toby stood out by the window and looked out onto the street. He could have sworn he saw something out of the corner of his eye, but quickly blamed it on the mess he was on. When dinner time came and his mother called up to him, Toby came down the stairs and hesitantly sat down at the table across from his father, and in between his mother and an empty chair. It was quiet as his parents picked at their food, but Toby refused to eat. Instead, he just watched his dad with a blank stare. His mother caught on to his staring and elbowed him slightly.
Or farming.
He's mogging.
He's across the table. He's feeling cunt.
Toby looked over at her slightly and then down at his uneaten food, which he still didn't touch. Toby laid in bed. Toby laid in
bed. Oh my god! You exploded for a second.
You made me laugh that loud. You made me laugh that loud.
That's beautiful.
Toby laid in bed. He pulled his covers over his head and stared out of the window. He was tired, but there was no way he would fall asleep. He couldn't. There was too much to think about. He had been debating on whether or not to follow his mother's directions and forgive his father, or continue holding a grudge with his boiling hatred. He heard his door creak open, and his mother petted into the room and sat down on the bed next to him. She reached over and rubbed his back, which had been turned to her.
I know it's hard, Toby. Trust me, I understand. But I promise you it will get better.
She said softly.
When is he going to leave?
Toby said with an innocent tone in his shaky voice. Connie let her gaze fall down to her feet.
I don't know, honey. He's staying as far as I know,
she replied. Toby didn't respond. He just continued to look forward at the wall, holding his damaged arm near his chest. After a few minutes of silence, his mother sighed before she leaned in to kiss his cheek and stood up to walk out of the room.
Good night,
she said as she closed the door. The hours passed slowly, and Toby couldn't quit his tossing and turning. Every time he let his imagination take over, he heard the screeching of tires, the screaming of his sister, and he would uncontrollably jerk in bed. He threw off his cover, and lying on his back, he pulled his pillow over his face and cried into it. He could hear his own pitiful weeping. He would have been screaming and crying if he didn't press his pillow over his face. After a few seconds, he threw the pillow off his face and sat up, hunched over, holding his head and breathing roughly, tears streaming from his eyes. He couldn't help but cry. He tried to keep it in, but he couldn't stop the whining and whimpering as he sat there, shaking. He inhaled before he stood up and walked around his bed to the window and peered out, taking deep breaths, trying to calm down. He rubbed his eyes and looked out at the group of tall pine trees across the street. He stopped suddenly, and his gaze slowly centered on something standing under the street, ringing in his ears, and couldn't look away. The figure stood beside the streetlight, about 2 feet shorter than it did, long arms draped at his sides.
Wait! No way! Is this
What?
Slenderman?
Yeah!
Wait, I remember! Wait! It's coming to me now.
You remember?
He was a proxy, right?
Yeah! He's a proxy OC, just what I mentioned.
Oh, okay. Of course, as a creepypasta professional, I know everything. I've been a seasoned veteran. I know that he's also, he... Okay, I don't know anything else.
He texts.
Yes, and his name is Toby.
I think I showed you that one canon voice line. At least as far as I know, it's canon.
I think I remember you showing it to me, but I don't remember what he says. We
Those
can put the
pesky
clip in there.
doctors.
Oh. Is it that one doctor in this?
No, no. It's okay. It's that one clip where he goes, I hear voices in my head to keep me company. I don't need socializing. And to think those pesky doctors try to silence them.
The doctor with the weed. Me? No.
Nah, man.
Not
Nah,
me.
man, I hear them too. I heard them too.
Have a blunt. Have a blunt.
He's true as fuck.
You're
He's
legal,
true as
right?
fuck.
You're of the legal age, right?
Oh,
You can
you'll-
take the blunt.
yeah. Legal age in his county is like 12 apparently, because they all
What?
have guns.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's America, right? Aren't babies born with guns?
He stopped suddenly, and his gaze slowly centered on something standing under the streetlight. He heard ringing in his ears and couldn't look away. The figure stood beside the streetlight, about 2 feet shorter than it did, long arms draped at his sides as it stared up at him with non-existing eyes. The figure had no facial features to speak of, no eyes, no mouth, no nose. Yet it held Toby's hypnotized stare, seemingly peering into his very being. The ringing in his ears grew louder and louder.
You're being affected by Slender Man.
Oh god. The next morning, Toby woke in his bed. He felt different. He wasn't tired at all, and when he consciously woke up, it felt like he had been lying there awake for hours. He had no thoughts flowing through his mind. He sat up slowly and stumbled over to the wall. But when he stood there, he automatically felt dizzy. He stumbled to the doorway and walked down the stairs. His parents were sitting at the table. His father was tuned into the small TV that sat on the countertop, and his mother was reading the newspaper. She quickly looked over when she felt Toby's presence looming behind her.
Well, good morning, sleepyhead. You have been sleeping forever.
She greeted him with a hesitant smile. Toby looked over at the clock and noticed that it was 12:30 p.m.
I made you breakfast, but it's got cold. I was going to wake you up, but I felt you needed sleep.
Her expression fell from happy to worried as her son resisted responding to her.
Are you alright?
Toby stumbled over and sat by his father. He felt as if he was an idol and had no control over his actions. He was seeing everything he did, but it didn't register in his brain properly. He reached out to his father's arm, but his hand ended up getting slapped. His father turned to him abruptly and pushed his chair over with his foot.
Don't touch me, boy!
He yelled. His mother stood up.
Alright, knock that off. That is the last thing we need.
The days went by, and things continued on as they were. Connie spent most of her time cleaning the house, and her rude husband spent most of his time ordering her around. It was just like how it used to be before the crash. Toby never really left his room. He would sit by his bed and tremble. His mind would wander, but his thoughts changed too fast to be remembered. He would pace around his small room like a caged animal or stare out of the window. The unhealthy cycle continued. Connie continued to be pushed around by her husband, being way too submissive to him, and Toby remained in his room. Before he could think twice, he would begin to chew on his hands, tearing the flesh from his fingers. He would gnaw on his hands until they bled. When his mother walked in on him while he was doing so, she reacted horribly. She rushed him downstairs and grabbed the first aid kit, wrapping his hands in bandages. Afterwards, she demanded that he would never leave her side again. Toby isolated himself so much that he grew to hate being around others. His memory grew glitchy as he grew. He'd start missing memory of minutes, hours, days, and so on. He would begin talking nonsense about things completely unrelated to the conversations he would have. He'd go off about seeing things, sharks in the sink as he washed his dishes, hearing crickets in his pillows, and seeing ghosts outside his bedroom window. His mother grew so anxious about his mental health that she decided it would be good for him to talk to a professional about what he was feeling. Connie walked Toby into the building, holding his hand and guiding him in. She walked him up to the front desk and began talking to the lady who sat behind it.
Miss Rogers?
The
Yes.
lady asked.
Oh, sorry. Shit. Miss Rogers?
The lady asked.
Yes, that's me.
Connie nodded.
You're here to see Dr. Oliver? I'm here with Toby Rogers. Yes, right this way.
You're so cunty, yeah? I'm imagining the most sexed up nurse sitting behind the desk.
Just this big head dude.
Yeah. The lady stood and led them down a long hallway. Toby looked at the framed artwork down the halls and tuned into the sound of the lady's high heels on the hardwood floor. She opened the door to a room with a table and 2 chairs.
If we can get him to sit here for a few minutes, I'll get the doctor.
She smiled and held the door open. Toby stumbled into the room and sat down at the table. He looked over at his mother and the lady before the door slowly shut behind them. He looked around the room before he held up his tightly bandaged hands and began to bite at the bandages to unwrap his hands. But he was interrupted as the door swung open and a young woman in black and spotted dress with light blonde hair stepped in, holding a clipboard and a pen.
Toby?
She asked with a smile. Toby looked up at her and nodded.
Nice to meet you, Toby. My name is Dr. Oliver.
She put her hand out to him for him to shake, but hesitantly pulled away when she noticed his bandaged hands.
Oh.
She smiled nervously before clearing her throat and sitting in the chair across from the table.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Try to answer them as honestly as possible, okay?
She placed the clipboard down at the table. Toby nodded slowly and held his restrained hands on his lap.
How old are you, Toby? 16.
No.
17.
You're just like his dad!
Gulp?
He responded quietly. She wrote that down on the paper that was clipped to the clipboard.
What is your full name? Toby Aaron Rogers. When is your birthday? April 28th. Who's your immediate family?
Toby paused for a minute before answering her question.
My mom, my dad, and
He stopped.
my sister. I heard about your sister, dear. I'm really sorry.
Her expression faded into a sad, pity-filled look. Toby nodded.
Do you remember anything from the crash, Toby?
Toby looked away from her. His mind went black for a moment. He looked down at his lap, and in the surrounding area he heard a faint ringing sound. His eyes widened and he froze in place.
Toby?
The counselor asked.
Toby, are you listening?
Toby felt a shiver go down his spine until he froze it once again and slowly looked over at the little window through the door, where he saw it. A dark, featureless figure peering in at him. He stared, eyes widened, and the ringing growing louder and louder, and suddenly the loud voice of the counselor broke his trance.
Toby!
She yelled. Toby jumped and fell sideways out of his chair and backed up into the corner. Dr. Oliver stood up, holding her clipboard to her chest, a surprised look in her eyes. Toby hitching as he twitched. That night, Toby lay in his bed. His eyes were dazed as he stared straight up at the ceiling. He could feel himself begin to doze off when he heard the scattering of footsteps down his hallway. He sat up and looked towards the doorway, his door wide open. There was no light, everything was lit by the luminescent blue glow of the moon through his window, leaving a cold lighting. He stood up and slowly made his way toward the doorway when suddenly the door, which previously was wide open, slammed in his face. He gasped and fell back. He was out of breath when he hit the ground and he began to breathing heavily, his eyes wide open. He waited for a few seconds before getting back on his feet. He reached out and grasped the cold door handle with his bandaged hand, and it creaked open. He looked out in the dark hallway and tiptoed out of his room. The window at the end of the hallway lit up the darkness with the blue moonlight, as he padded his way down. He could hear footsteps rustling around him, and faint giggling, followed by pitter-patter of small feet, which sounded like a child and had run in front of him, giggling and running around. The hallway was a lot longer than he remembered. It seemed endless, like the ride home from the hospital. He heard the door creak in front of him.
Mom?
He called in a shaky voice. Suddenly a door slammed behind him and he jumped and turned around. Behind him he heard a long eerie groan that sounded like a croak right in his ear. He turned around as fast as he could and was suddenly face to face with none other than his dead sister. Her eyes were clouded white, her skin pale, the right side of her jaw dangling there by tissue and muscle, glass protruding from her forehead, black blood leaking down her face, her blonde hair pulled up in a ponytail as it always was, and she was wearing her grey t-shirt and athlete shorts, which were dirty and spotted with blood. Her legs were bent in ways that they shouldn't be. She stood emitting a long croaking noise, only an inch away from Toby's face. Toby yelped and fell back.
Ah!
He started to crawl backward away from her, but he was unable to break the eye contact he held with her blank dead eyes. He dragged himself backward until he backed up into something. He stopped for a second. Everything was dead silent except for his heavy breathing and crying. He slowly looked up to meet the blank face of a tall, dark figure, the same figure that stood over him now. Behind the tall, dark mask were rows of children looking deranged from their eyes completely black and dark black blood leaked from their eye sockets. He screamed and stood up as fast as he could, but only to be tripped by dark black tendrils that wrapped around his ankle. He fell straight on his stomach and got the wind knocked out of him. He tried to scream, but he couldn't make a sound. He wheezed out before it all went to black. Toby woke up with a start. She screamed out, misgendered, okay. Toby woke with a start. He screamed out and sat up as fast as he could, completely short of breath. He wheezed out and held his chest with his bandaged arms. It was just a dream. Just a dream. He laid back down on his bed and rolled over on his side. It felt like against weight had been lifted off his chest as he took in deep breaths. He stood up and padded over to his window. He saw nothing. Nobody was out there, no ghosts, no figures, nothing. He heard the rustling and coughing of his father outside the doorway. His door was closed. He walked over and opened it, looking out into the hallway once again. He padded down the hallway and into the kitchen where he found his dad standing and having a smoke in their living room. Toby waited for a second and watched him from around the corner before a burning feeling started deep in his chest. Deep boiling anger overtook him. He heard the little imaginary voices in his head.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. They chanted. He turned away and held his arms. He felt like he actually had control over himself, unlike he did the past few weeks since he got home from the hospital. He actually had complete thoughts for just moments before chanting of the little voices in his head clouded them.
Kill him.
Kill him.
He wasn't there. He wasn't
there.
Kill him.
Kill him. They continued on. He trembled. No, he wasn't going to do it. What? Was he going crazy? No, he won't kill anyone. He can't. He hated his father, but there was no way he was going to kill him. That was it, the last thought he had before he fell into an idle state once again. The influence of the voices in his head was too much. He began to silently walk up to his father. He reached over to the counter to the knife in the case. He gripped it in his hand. He felt the sensation take over in his chest. He let out a snicker.
Can't do more.
He began... You did great.
Thank you.
He began laughing so hard he had to gasp for breath. His father turned around abruptly before he felt a brute force shove him to the floor. He crumbled as the air was knocked out of him.
What?
He looked up at the boy who stood over him, grasping the kitchen knife in his hand.
Toby, boy! What are you doing?
He went to sit up and put his arms in front of him in self-defense, but before he knew it, Toby was on top of him. He bent to grab his neck, but his father reached out and blocked his hand by grabbing onto his wrist.
Stop! Get off of me! You little boy!
He yelled, and with his other hand he threw an off-center punch towards Toby's shoulder, but he didn't stop. The look in Toby's eyes were not sane. It looked as if a demon had taken control of him. He yelled back and went to stab the knife into his father's chest, but his father blocked him and grabbed onto his wrist once again. He went to shove him back, but Toby kicked his feet out. His father recoiled and pulled his arms away to cover his face, but Toby got back up and drove the knife straight into his shoulder. His father let out a loud cry and went to pull the knife out, but before he could, Toby threw his fist straight into his face. He began to pound his fists into his head, laughing and wheezing. He cracked his neck and grabbed the knife and ripped it out of his father's shoulder. He drove it deep into his dad's chest and repeatedly stabbed it into his torso, blood spilling out and getting splattered everywhere. He didn't stop until his father's body went still. He threw the knife over to the side and leaned over to his body, coughing in and panting. He stared at his father's smashed-in face and sat there twitching until a loud scream broke the silence. He looked over to see his mother standing a few feet away, covering her mouth, tears streaming down her face.
Toby!
She screamed.
Why did you do that?
She cried.
Why?
She screamed. Toby stood up and began to back away from his father's bloody corpse. He began to back out of the kitchen. He looked down at his blood-soaked bandages on his hands and looked up at his mother one last time before he turned and ran out of the house. He ran into the garage and slammed his hands against the control panel on the wall and pushed the button to open the garage door. Before he ran out, he noticed his father's hatchets, which had been hanging on the tool rack above a table full of jars filled to the brim with old rusted nails and screws. One of the hatchets was new. It had a bright orange handle and a shiny blade, and the other was old with a wooden handle and an old dull. And looked down at the table and he saw a box of matches. And under the table was a red gasoline tank. He held both of the hatchets in one hand and grabbed 2 matches and gasoline before running out of the garage, down the driveway and up to the street. As he approached the streetlight that he could see out of his own bedroom window, he heard police sirens in the distance. He turned around and the red and blue flashing lights came rushing down the street. Toby stood for a second before he pulled an open cap on the gasoline tank and ran down the street, spilling the gasoline all over the street after him. He turned and ran into the trees. He poured the last bit of gasoline out before he reached into his pocket and pulled out a match. He struck it light against the window and immediately dropped it. In an instant, flames burst around him. The fire caught on the trees and bushes around him, and before he knew it, he was surrounded by fire. The silhouettes of police cars were visible through the flames as he backed away into the forest around him. He looked around, but his vision was blurred. His heart was pounding, and he closed his eyes for a moment. This was it. This was the end. Toby felt a hand on his shoulder. He opened his eyes and looked over to see a large white hand with long bony fingers resting on his shoulder. He followed the arm that was attached up to the dark towering figure. It appeared to be wearing a dark black suit, and his face was completely blank. It towered over Toby's small frame as it looked down on him. Tendrils reached out from his back. Before Toby knew it, his vision was blurred and he heard the sound of ringing in his ears. Everything went black. This was it. This was the end. That was how Toby Rogers died. A few weeks later, Connie sat in her sister's kitchen. His sister Lori sat down next to her drinking a cup of coffee. About 3 weeks ago, Connie lost her husband and her son, and a few weeks before she had lost her daughter to a car crash.
And
Since
her
then,
home.
she moved. I feel like My son and my daughter are more important, and I guess my alcoholic husband.
The mortgage isn't going to pay itself, bro.
Well, if they have life insurance, she's all good.
Well,
About 3 weeks ago, Connie lost her husband and her son. A few weeks before, she had lost her daughter to a car crash. Since then, she moved in here with her sister. The police were keeping her busy, and they had just finished cleaning up the case, and the story had been released 2 weeks ago. The focus of the world seemed to have shifted completely to new stories. Lori switched TV on a news broadcast. On the TV, the news reporter began introducing the new headline.
we have breaking news. Last night there have been reported the murder of 4 individuals. There are no suspects yet, but the victims were a group of middle school kids who had been out in the woods last night. The kids had been bludgeoned and stabbed to death. The investigators have discovered a weapon at the crime scene. It appears to be an old dual blade hatchet, as you can see here.
The picture changed to show snapshots of the weapon exactly as it was left at the crime scene.
Investigators have pulled the name of a possible suspect, Toby Rogers, a 17-year-old boy who stabbed his father to death a few weeks ago and tried to cover up his escape by setting a fire in the streets and the forest area around the neighborhood. Although they believe the young boy had died in the fire, investigators suspect Rogers might still be alive due to the fact that his body was never found.
Alright, so that was Ticci Toby by Castaway.
Castaway. That was so much better than Jeff the Killer.
That's
Honestly.
why. Also, not to mention, the art style of the Ticci Toby's, like how he was depicted, was like really influential. Like everyone loved it.
Oh.
He was the Tumblr sexy man to me when I was a kid.
Wait, what does he exactly look like again?
In the CREEPYPASTA page, he should have a picture of the art style.
I don't. Wait, is it at the top?
Yeah, at the top.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is he blonde or is that that's blonde, right?
He's a brunette.
Oh. Honestly, cool design.
Yeah. The artist redesigned him, and the writer and the artist, I think, are the same people. They designed him, and it's caused a lot of like controversy because oh no, he's not a twink anymore. He actually looks like a unhinged serial killer. He's hot either way.
Was he a twink or was he just a little boy? That's the question that we will never know.
Well, he was 17, but it's
16.
the art style. No, you're just like his dad.
Oh god, yeah, true. I'm sorry.
The artist, I think, like wanted him to be a little like on the leaner side, but ended up drawing him as like a very skinny dude accidentally because of, the writer was obviously a child back then.
Yeah, honestly.
Well, not a child, but like a teenager.
Yeah. You can't tell because of the ages. If someone younger had written him, he would have been like 12, like Jack the Killer. Jeff the Killer?
No, he would have been 13 because that was the cool age back then.
Oh.
Either 13 or 14, or you're 16 or 17, never 15 for some reason.
15 is lame.
Yeah.
I was lame when I was 15. Also, I was lame all throughout my teenage years, but we skip over that. Anyway.
Dude, I read creepypasta stories and I self-shipped with them. What do you think?
Okay, we're like on the same spectrum but different ends. I was watching animated short stories, like the animated meme thingies. I think they were called memes.
I was also watching those.
Oh my god.
Papito, Bonito,
Mierwa.
Mierwa. Okay, next we have Eyeless Jack, and it's your turn.
How about we finish this part from here because it's been almost 2 hours.
Okay.
This video is going to be 4 hours. I was joking about that.
Okay, so the intention was not to have a 4-hour video, but we do want to like complete the story. So for today, if we don't hit 1 million subscribers today, Well, we're gonna release the video either way, but like it would be cool if we had subscribers.
Wow, guys, it would be really cool if you guys liked it, but it's fine if no one likes it because we're going to do it anyway.
God, we're closing the video here. I'm stopping the recording.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for
Wow.
watching.
Oh my
Bye
god,
bye.
I love creepypasta.